Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about the books that disappointed me the most this year. Now, this video is different, distinctly different from my worst books of the year video in that not all of these books are like 2 or 1-star reads, but they're books that I had some sort of expectation going into that they would be new all-time favorites or at least enjoyable in some way, and all of these books let me down in one way or another. That's why I like to put together these videos. I'm someone who buys into the hype with books. I get excited about books that maybe I shouldn't have picked up because it's like not really my thing, and then I'm left disappointed. And now I'm here to talk to you about the books I'm disappointed about. So I did not take extensive notes for this video compared to worst and best books, so hopefully this is still fairly seamless. First up, we have Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. This book is about Jules and Josh. Jules is the best friend of Josh's little sister, and they've kind of always butted heads, right? Like, they do not get along very well, and this is an enemies to lovers story, and I was really excited about it because in the past, I've really liked Anna Huang's writing. I want to say all 4 of the books in the Twisted series came out this year. I could be wrong. Maybe Twisted Love came out last year, I'm not sure. But I've read all of her books at this point. I really like Twisted Love. I really like Twisted Games, and I really like Twisted Lies. But Twisted Hate was simply not for me, and I'm not sure if it's because I don't think Anna Huang can do enemies to lovers, or if this one is just like a standalone, doesn't work for me kind of book. There were 2 main issues with this book. Number 1, the dialogue. If you're gonna make an enemies to lovers story with 2 adult people who are post-grad, they are successful career people, you have a doctor and a lawyer, I'm gonna expect the dialogue and the witty banter between the 2 of them to be witty. Not based on name calling or really stupid insults, but funny, witty, interesting, enemies to lover kind of dialogue. I want to feel the tension here. I don't want to be irritated by the interactions that are being had between hero and heroine. I was honestly really irritated by these 2, especially for that first like 20 to 30% of this book. Then they end up going to, I want to say like a ski resort or something, and I started to kind of warm to their relationship. I thought like, okay, Josh, he's kind of taking care of Jules when she is not feeling well. Like, I'm kind of starting to warm to this relationship. Like, I think this could work. And then things had to come crashing down for the second reason that I was disappointed in this book and actively kind of dislike it. Lying is not really the recipe to a successful relationship, right? And to be caught in a lie and not have a reason for it, not a true reason, doesn't really make for a good romance. I don't know how to say it. I just think that breaking trust is a big deal, and I think that coming back from a lie or coming back from cheating in a relationship is really, really challenging and oftentimes doesn't work. And we're supposed to believe that enough groveling here will solve that problem, but there is a scene that happens in this book that made me personally deeply uncomfortable. So not only did one character lie to the other, but the person that's being lied to finds out and treats the other person really cruelly as a result. I did not like it. It was reminiscent of another book, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I think in like 2018 or 2019, I read a book that had a completely different premise, but had a similar scene. And in that book, it was like a cliffhanger, but in this book, it's like they're supposed to come back from this thing that happens, and in my opinion, it felt like borderline assaulty. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. I was disappointed in it, and I'm hoping that in the future, I can read an enemies to lovers from Anna Huang that feels really angsty and high stakes and like truly is for me, but this one just simply was not. I ended up giving this book 2 stars, and I think all of the other books that I've read by this author I've given like 3 to 5 stars. So next up, we have a couple of books that were on the Goodreads Choice Awards this year, and I've talked about both of these books extensively before, so I don't really want to belabor the point and like gush about how much I hate them or how much I didn't enjoy them, how disappointed I am in them, but I have to talk about them because they are 2 books that really disappointed me. First up, we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I know. You're probably sick of hearing about this book. I'm sick of talking about this book. It's about Nora and Charlie. Nora is a book agent who is looking for someone to edit a book for one of her clients after their editor kind of like ghosted them or something like that. Charlie is going to be the guy to do that, which is kind of rough on Nora because they have sort of like, not an enemies to lovers situation going on, but a rivals to lovers. They've had kind of one interaction that neither of them was really happy with, and now they're having to kind of work together. That's not actually what the story is about. The story is about Nora going to a small town, and I want to say like North Carolina, with her little sister. They're going to bond right before her sister has her like 2nd or 3rd baby. The majority of the book is just spent with Nora trying to figure out why her sister is kind of keeping secrets from her. And occasionally we get Charlie popping in because guess what? He is from the small town to, I guess, provide some like true romance. This book was disappointing on 2 fronts, kind of like Twisted Lies. The first issue that I had with this book is that so much time was spent on the relationship between Nora and her sister that you never really get to fully invest yourself in the relationship between Charlie and Nora. And then the second reason I'm disappointed in this book is because I feel like at this point point, all of Emily Henry's male main characters are kind of running together. They all sort of feel the same to me. And I recently watched Kayla from Books and Lala, her series, reading a ton of different romances, and I think she read both Beach Read and Book Lovers and had similar feelings, maybe not as strong as me, but like similar feelings on the way that she writes her characters. It's like the guys feel interesting a little bit at the beginning, and you're like, oh, okay, he's like kind of fun and different. And then as the story goes on, the guys become bland, flavorless, personality-less guys who are just lusting after the, female main character. Lusting is probably the wrong word. Simping simping, also kind of the wrong word, but these guys are just obsessed with the women and they have been in love with her this entire time. That's kind of what we find out for pretty much all of the men in Emily Henry's books. And in People We Met on Vacation, it makes sense because they're long-term friends. In both Beach Read and Book Lovers, it's like, why are these guys so into these women who they barely know? Even if they are really cool, like, it just feels too wish fulfillment for me, and I'm someone who likes wish fulfillment. So, I don't know. I was just really disappointed in this book. It didn't feel like a really well-rounded romance, too much time spent with the side characters. That's just not for me. That's not the kind of romance I like. It felt a little too chick lit for me, which again, I hate saying. I hate putting that energy into the atmosphere. I don't think that chick lit is inherently like worse than romance. It's just like not necessarily what I like. Anyway, I give this book 2 stars. Moving on. Another book, again, for the Goodreads Choice Awards, that I didn't enjoy was a book that a lot of people were hyping up for me. It's not a book that was on my radar previously or that I was like interested in and of itself, but it was a book that so many people said was amazing. I kept seeing quotes everywhere. I kept seeing the cover of this book on Instagram, and I was like, surely I'm going to really enjoy Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. And I'm sure a lot of y'all know at this point, I just didn't enjoy this book, which was so sad. But this book is about Knox and I can't remember the heroine's name. I'm gonna call her Luann. It was about Knox and Luann, and she is running away from her betrothed. She is basically running away in a wedding dress, I believe, because she doesn't want to walk down the altar to this guy who is not a very nice guy. So she escapes to a small town that her twin sister is residing in, and her evil twin sister is taking care of Luann's niece that Luann didn't know existed. And since she is an evil twin, the evil twin is going to disappear, leave the niece behind, and now Luann is going to have to take care of the kid and also kind of figure out her life. Because she's 36, but she doesn't have her life figured out at all, okay? She somehow attracts the attention of the town grump Knox, and he is going to provide not only a hot beef injection, but also a lot of anguish because he's irritating as hell. He doesn't know how to use his words or his emotions appropriately. He has some daddy issues that we learn about later on in the book that kind of come too little too late. Overall, this book was just so disappointing because it was going for that like charming small town romance thing. I think it was trying to go for, again, like a slow burn sort of Mariana Zapata thing, but again, in a small town setting, and it just does not accomplish that. I didn't find the sex scenes hot. In fact, I found them a little bit repulsive. I remember distinctly as I was reading going, ew, and like highlighting some scenes because I was like, I don't like the way milking is being used here. It's just not really for me. And I just think that Knox and Luann don't really act their age, and I'm not saying that you have to have your life figured out at any age, but I would like to see some signs that you've lived a little bit, and these two characters feel like they could be 21 and not like this book. And you know, if you do, that's awesome. Maybe you are taking something away from it that I'm just missing, but I feel like a lot of the messages here were a little heavy-handed too, so it just wasn't for me. 2 stars. Moving on. Next up is a book that I don't really know that I've fully talked about on my channel. I think I've talked about it in a wrap-up once, but I read My Killer Vacation by Tessa Bailey, and I disliked it. I was highly disappointed in this one, and it was one that I was really anticipating. So Tessa Bailey, I think, has had 3 releases this year: Happenstance, My Killer Vacation, and Hook, Line, and Sinker. And I didn't really like any of them. Hook, Line, and Sinker was the one that I enjoyed the most, and it's a traditionally published romance by her. This one is, I think, indie published, and it follows our main characters, Miles and Taylor. Miles is a private detective, and Taylor is on a beach vacation with her little brother, I want to say. And she's a teacher, you know, normally, but she is treating herself to a beach vacation. And unfortunately, she finds a dead body in the beach house she's staying at. And she is on a mission to figure out who did it. And Miles comes in because he has been asked to figure out, you know, who done it and like why someone would kill the person that they found at the beach house. This was bad on 2 counts. Number 1, I feel like as a mystery thriller, it was just not good. I don't feel like there were breadcrumbs left. I don't feel like there was really any intention to solve this mystery in a way that was satisfying. It was just supposed to be the backdrop for a smutty romance. And like, don't get me wrong, I like a good smutty romance. I really like relationship development, and I'm fine if the plot just kind of takes a back seat, but you are committing to writing mystery when you sign up for a plot like this, right? I expected some care and attention to be taken with the fact that, again, this like is a mystery, but no care and attention was taken. And then also, I just find Miles creepy. Like, I didn't like him. He ends up stealing the heroine's panties after meeting her one time. Like, he ends up going to the house, the beach house that she's staying in, kind of confronting her about the fact that she is sneaking around trying to solve this mystery, and then he nabs a pair of panties and keeps it in his pocket, and like, I don't know. I just don't like the way he referred to her either. I think what I'm noticing about some of Tessa Bailey's books, not all of them, but some of them, is that she spends a lot of time with the heroes lusting after the heroines and not really caring about their personalities, and that's not something that I personally noticed myself until Hayden pointed it out when we read It Happened One Summer together this year. After we read that book, I think this is the next Tessa Bailey I read after it, and it really colored my judgment, I guess, of her books and definitely influenced the way that I viewed this one. And I just realized that, like, Miles was talking about how her firm ass looked in those jeans and blah, 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 and it's like, we get you want to be with her, but like, you care about her personality at all? Like, is that something that doesn't matter? I mean, here's the thing. If you're looking for a smutty good time, I guess maybe this could work for you. I just feel like she has other books that are both smutty and have some heart to it. And I just feel like this one was just kind of it was not for me, okay? And the ending felt a little bit rushed as well. It's like, we've known each other for 2 weeks, but I love you and I'm gonna move in with you. I feel like it was a bit too much for me, okay? Personally, just a little bit too much for me. I like a little bit of realism. So, not for me. Another book from the Goodreads Choice Awards. I know, I'm sorry, but like, those books just let me down, okay? So much hype, so much disappointment. We have You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty by Akwaeke Emeze. This one's tough for me because I definitely had like the wrong expectations going to this book. I really thought this was going to feel like Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan, something that was deeply emotional, that really dealt with the aftermath of grief and what that's like. This book is really just about our main character, Faye, getting with multiple different dudes, getting with the guy she is like dating, getting with his dad, and calling it true love. The way that she views these men and the way she talks about them doesn't feel romantic to me. Like, I never felt like, oh wow, they have this incredibly rich relationship, an incredibly rich connection, and they should be together. I never felt that way. It felt like, oh, she thinks this man is handsome, and he just happens to have a spouse that also died, and so now you're jumping into bed with him. It was like Faye was trying to use her grief to justify her relationship with this man she shouldn't be with. And there's definitely repercussions there, but it never felt high stakes. I don't know. This book was messy to me, and not in a fun way, not in a way that I found satisfying. I think having read other books about grief and other books about really heavy topics this year in romance, I just feel like this one was lacking in so many ways. I don't think it went deep enough with the grief. I don't think it went deep enough with the healing, and it definitely didn't go deep enough with the romance there. It's like, okay, I think you're hot, you're grieving, let's fuck. Oh my god, I love you. I didn't love it, and I'm sad. I know that Akwaeke Emeze has written other books that people really love. I'd definitely be willing to give more of their books a try in the future, but this one just was not for me. And then lastly, a book that I don't think was terrible. This is probably the one that I liked on this list the most. I'm looking at the other books on this list and they're all 2-star reads. Ruby Fever by Ilona Andrews is actually a 3-star read for me. It was not terrible, but it was one that I was deeply disappointed in because it was supposed to be the ending of a trilogy and it was supposed to really wrap up this great love story and great like urban fantasy romance series, and it just didn't do that for me. So this book's about Alessandro and Catalina. I don't really want to go into the plot of this book because obviously it's a continuation of a series, but in general, I feel like this trilogy compared to the first trilogy, which was Nevada and Mad Rogan's trilogy, I feel like the romance was lacking throughout the story, right? We're just supposed to know that these two are meant for each other, that they understand each other without any like on-page evidence of that. It's like, oh, we spent an entire summer together and really got to know each other. It felt like a throwaway. Like I wanted more on page with the romance, and I thought in this third book we'd get that. We never did. And then also it's like, we're leading up to this big battle. We're excited about this big battle for like 3 books. We finally know what's happening. We understand what the big bad is after. And then we have this encounter and it is the most lackluster, like lack of battle ever. It's like at the 97% mark, okay, let's have a 3-page scene on this battle or like this encounter, and then it's over and then everybody lives happily ever after. And that was so not satisfying because I know that this author duo is capable of so much more, and this book kept getting pushed and pushed publishing wise. So I'm not sure if they didn't know how to wrap up the series or what, but it just felt unsatisfying after having waited quite a while for this book to come out. So it was a bummer that I didn't love it. It wasn't terrible. It was a 3-star read, but like I wanted more. And I'm hoping that if they do continue on with the series, and that if we do get an Arabella trilogy, that it would be hopefully like more satisfying than this one. But that is it. Those are the 6 books that disappointed me this year. There were obviously more disappointments, but these are the ones that really stood out to me as books that I was so excited about that really just didn't hit that final mark. So let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with any of these, and also let me know what books you were most disappointed in this year. But thanks so much for watching. I love you all so much, and until next time.